Question: Am I entitled to a portion of my husband's business in our divorce? The answer is perhaps. In distributing property in divorce proceedings, trial courts are first required to properly categorize the parties' property as marital or as separate property. Generally, trial courts are also required to award premarital property and appreciation on that property to the spouse who brought the property into the marriage. However, separate property is not totally beyond a court's reach in an equitable property division. The court may award the separate property of one spouse to the other spouse in extraordinary situations where equity so demands. In the Utah Court of Appeals case of Elman versus Elman, the trial court properly categorized the husband's business partnership interests as separate property. The court determined that the husband had not commingled the partnership assets with his marital property, and also found that the wife had not directly enhanced the value of these shares. However, the trial court found that the wife was very active in managing the marital property, and further found wife freed the husband to engage in activities benefiting his premarital property because of the unusual responsibilities she assumed. Thus, the court concluded equity required that wife be awarded a small share of the appreciation on husband's partnership interests derived from the parties' joint, although distinct, efforts. Now, in the case of Dunn versus Dunn, the wife resigned from her employment during the marriage to have time to travel with the husband, to perform secretarial and bookkeeping duties for his corporation, to entertain his associates, to run errands, manage household accounts, run the house, and coordinate the construction of the party's home. In the divorce proceedings, the wife sought an interest in the tangible assets of the husband's corporation. The Court of Appeals agreed. While she was not his partner in the business of the corporation, the wife was the husband's partner in the business of marriage. Because her efforts were necessary to the growth of his corporation, the wife was entitled to a fair share of the corporation's assets. In Schaumburg versus Schaumburg, the husband used marital funds to augment his separate property, a building he had purchased with inherited funds, which are separate property. The trial court concluded that the appreciation on the building had changed character from a separate to a marital asset, and awarded one half of the appreciation on the building to the wife. Schaumburg recognizes that appreciation may be a marital asset apart from an underlying separate asset. In Schaumburg, the court awarded the wife 50% of all of that appreciation. In Savage versus Savage, the court awarded 40% of the husband's interest in a premarital corporation to the wife, where the entire present value of the corporation was developed during the marriage, and although wife did not assume responsibility for the corporation, her assumption of what the court called domestic burdens made husband's full-time participation in the corporation possible. I hope you found that useful in answering your question about whether or not you may have a claim to a portion or some value in your husband's business.